Um, Today, I will be sharing with you the tips to start a successful business. All right, so I'm going to get straight to the point. One of the most important things when starting a business is the business plan itself. Now, the business plan is usually taken to be the kind of tool that an entrepreneur can use so that they can secure funding. Most of the times, young entrepreneurs they take the business plan to be really just about that, only about that. But a business plan is more than just a tool that can be used to secure funding, say from financial institutions like banks or private investors or any other organizations that supply funding. So, a business plan is actually a guideline for the entrepreneur and his team, a guideline as to which direction they should take in order to get things going in their favor. So this is a plan. It's a strategy that can help the business to move from point A to point B and so forth. So you can get into business. In fact, you cannot get into anything, any organization without having a solid plan as to how are you going to proceed moving forward. So a business plan is also for that purpose. Now, one thing about a business plan that stands out, that seems to be more important than most things, according to me, would be the pricing, plan, the pricing plan section of the business plan or the pricing strategy. Pricing is everything. If you will be selling products or services, you will have to set a specific price that you will be selling them, with. So in some markets, in some industries, you wouldn't really have to set the price because perhaps the price would be set by the market itself. This is true, particularly in a purely competitive market. But as we know, in real life, they aren't really purely competitive markets. So what you'd have instead is a monopolistic competitive market, a monopolistic competitive market where there is some ability to vary the prices or set your own prices as a producer. So, but it is also limited. So that's what you'd have in real life. And so pricing is very important. Let us suppose that you are a producer, you want to produce specific goods. And how would you even start? How would you even start setting the price for these goods? Suppose that the market was not, purely competitive. And instead, maybe it was a monopolistic competitive market where you had, some ability to actually set the prices yourself. Although there would be limits imposed on that, but at least you could. So, how would you go about deciding whether the products that you're going to sell are actually going to get you profit? How will you ascertain that the business will be profitable? Because this is also what needs to be in the business plan. If the investors are going to look on your business plan and the banks are going to look at the financial section of the business plan, they're going to want to know whether you will be able to repay the loan or not. So this is in the case where you're getting your funding solely from the banks, but I suppose also the other organizations that might be government organizations, they would want to know how you plan to generate profits as time goes. So obviously you would have to then be able to have a way to ascertain whether the business is profitable or not. How do you do that before you can actually start running the business? So what you'd have to do is you'd have to analyze and find out what the demand for the product is. And that's not a very easy thing to do because a lot of people don't like filling out survey and questionnaires. And so you'd have maybe a survey posted online, and a lot of people would just ignore it. A lot of people just generally don't like to fill in or complete surveys and questionnaires. So you'd have to find a way, whether it's social media, However, but you would need to find a way, even if you were just researching through maybe some organizations or some bodies that might have the statistical data. Even if you were to find a way to conjure this data up yourself, so long as it would be accurate enough to give you an idea of the demand of the product or the service. So you would then discover what is the demand. So by demand, what do I mean? I mean, if you were to sell this product or this service to your customers, or maybe just to everybody or to whoever you will be selling it to, how much of the product or the service would a single person, a single customer, how much of the service or the product would they be willing to buy at a specific price per week? Now, you could have per week, per fortnight, per month, per annum. I mean, that's really up to you, but perhaps you maybe want to say per month. So, but you want to have an idea of how much is this product or service that you're selling, how much is it in demand? And having realized the demand for the product helps you to be able to know how much you need to produce. In other words, how much you need to supply as the producer, so that you don't overproduce and you have now you're stuck with inventory that actually just doesn't sell. Nobody wants to buy it. It's there, but nobody really wants to buy it. Obviously, after some time, it's going to lose its value and you are going to lose out. It's going to be a loss on your side as an entrepreneur. So it helps you to discover what the demand of the product or the service is, helps you also decide how much you have to produce. So that already is a big deal if you have an idea how much you should be producing, because by then you can be able to develop your production function, and you'll be able to understand what will be the production costs. And the production costs are very important. Uh, in the next video that I'll be doing, I'll share much more about the production costs, the various types of production costs, and ways that you could gather the data, and how you could set up this production function that I'm talking about. So, but if you have what the total costs for producing this good or this service are, you're well on your way to discovering how much profit you'll be making. So there is a formula for calculating profit in a business. So the formula for finding out what the profits are is revenues minus total costs. So the total costs are important because you have to discover what the total costs are so that you can remove them from the revenue, and whatever then is left behind becomes the profit. I'm not going to get into the issue of accounting profits and economic profits. I'm going to also leave that for the other video. But essentially, you would then have to understand what your revenues would be, or what your sales would be, the total sales. And so this is where the price comes in. Once you're able to get to a price, that a fixed price, for the time being, for when you're starting the business, you want to fix the price, at some point. It might change as time goes, based on a variety of factors, but during the beginning of the business or the start of the business, you've got to have a fixed price, right? So now the price, and if you want to find out what the revenues are, you have to multiply the total quantity of goods or services that you are selling by the price. This gives you the total revenue. So once you have the total revenue, then you can remove from it the total cost, and you know what the profit is. So obviously this helps you see whether the business is profitable or not. And it also helps the the investors or the banks. It also helps them to decide whether they want to fund or they can risk and fund your business. So it's so important to set the price right, and to minimize the costs as much as you can. Um, so that's it for this video. In the next video, I'm going to share more into the detail as to how you could actually decide what is this quantity that will maximize the sales or the revenues, and what is the quantity that's going to maximize the profits, and what is the quantity that's going to minimize the costs. So I will share more about that, and tools and techniques that can be used in order to actually you know complete that work, or find those results. And yeah, so important. This has to be in the business plan. You might want to keep it in a separate copy of the business plan that's just for you and your team, right? For the business. And perhaps when you then draft the business plan that you'll be giving to the investors, maybe you just want to show them what the figures are. You might not really want to show them how you got to those figures, because that's going to be perhaps maybe a lot of mathematics, a lot of mathematical statistics, and perhaps you would have used some programs, software, like these tools that I'm talking about, to get there. So you would just maybe want to show them graphs and figures that would maybe appear on some tables, like cash flow figures and some cash flow tables. So yeah, that's it for me, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, so that when I post other videos, you'll also be alerted about that. So yeah, thank you very much, guys. Hope you have a great time.